Hello, everybody. Welcome to the CCA U2G Show, episode 14, where we're going to talk about how to file a police report. So, in the process of filing a police report, you can file a police report for any event involving a criminal act, significant property loss, or threats to public safety. Now, these topics of property loss, threats to public safety, and criminal act is very broad, so we're going to dive into that a little bit later. Also, law enforcement categorizes reportable incidents into urgent emergencies, non-emergency, property crimes, personnel safety crimes, and documentation for financial protection. Now, when it comes to filing a police report, you can always call 911. But in the event where you don't have a cell phone or communication to call 911, you can always go to um, the actual police station and file an incident report. And in the event that you don't want to have the police report filed on recording, you can use the internet. You can go to your site of the city you're in and put police police station, Atlanta, Georgia police office, and they should have a police report, right? And when it comes to major categories, you have property crimes and theft, you know, and then that involves theft, vandalism, property damage, vehicle crimes, and lost property. Um, I wouldn't put a value on what's lost to you. It could be sentimental, up to X amount of dollars. Vehicle crime, it could be as little as, you know, um, someone scratching up your car or doing some type of harm to your car, popping your tires, draining your oil, all the 9 yards, you know, bleeding your brakes, all that stuff. Property damage, someone breaks your window, breaks your door, breaks anything on your property. Vandalism, someone spray paint graffiti onto your onto your property, or a place that you are aware of. And theft, if someone takes something from you, like a cell phone, a purse, anything. Um, Crimes against persons and safety involves harassment and stalking, which harassment is could be verbal, online, um, and stalking. Following someone, while you're in the car, or stalking them online, seeing what they're posting, you know, and then planning to make a move. That's what they're doing that. Assault and battery, assault and battery. Physical altercation is an assault. Battery, same. Any physical altercations with fist, weapon, um, animal, um, machine. That all falls into that category. Domestic disputes, at home, domestic violence, um, in public, and trespassing. Being somewhere where you were told not to be and you still decide to show up. That's considered trespassing. Financial and white collar crimes. Financial, let's say someone owes you $10, they promise to pay it back to you, but you don't report that. But this is an example. You can file a report for that. White collar crimes. People using their authority to commit a crime. Take pay from you if you're in a work environment. Give you, well, in the school environment, white collar crimes aren't really that common, but it could be as giving you bad grades for not doing what they tell you, and not performing as well. That is a crime. Um, when not to file a police report? For civil disputes, landlord tenant arguments, child custody disagreements, or minor verbal arguments with neighbors over property lines. Uh, those are handled through civil courts, not criminal reports. You do not file a police report for a civil court. You grab a lawyer to represent you, and then you file your complaint in front of a judge. Um, More on, with general information, animal control issues like barking dogs or parking complaints to go to code enforcement or local animal services, not a standard incident report, right? So, following the police report in school, you can also follow the police report, if the teacher is or harassment, sexual harassment, um, bullying, all that falls under that, um, even if you report it to a teacher and nothing occurs, you can always go behind the scenes, file one online, and make sure, when you do dial 911, police do already know that you let them aware of what's happening. When you file a police report online or at a police station, you're pretty much letting them know ahead of time that, if this person continues, I am seeking charges, and at the scene of the crime, if the police don't understand, they can read the police report and say, okay, we already have this documented, and we can, go ahead and arrest this gentleman or lady based on, what the incident caused. So that's for the, harassment. When it comes to domestic, I always preach, step away from the scene, give yourself distance. Don't allow someone too close to you in a hostile environment, especially if you feel tensions between you and an individual or a group of people. Always seek safety first, so you don't have to have an assault case. Domestic disputes, at home, follow the same rules. Always keep your distance. Hey, call the police 911 for emergencies, and make sure you put your police report in. So remember, law enforcement categorizes reportable incidents into urgent emergencies, non-emergent property crimes, personal safety crimes, and for document and financial protection, right? So financial protection, make sure, you're not losing your money, you're getting robbed. That's what law enforcement is there for. Non-emergency property crimes, barking dog, it's not a crime. You got to go to animal control for that. But if someone is planting trees in your yard and you did request and you call the police. Simple as that. Moving on into reportable incidents. As I stated, we have crimes against persons and safety. Always keep your safety first. For minor verbal arguments, I always tell you all to stop the conversation with the individual and move away from the scene, because it could escalate into something larger. That person could have a weapon on them, and you don't want to have your life taken or another individual life taken in the sense of for a minor disagreement. So just go ahead and just remove yourself from the scene. So that is basically how to file a police report. You have to go online, call 911, or go in person to the police station. And for general information, like I said, anything that deals with like minor stuff is probably going to be code enforcement, like parking, barking dogs, loud cats. That goes on into that category. And that's all. Thank you for tuning into the CCAU 2G show, episode 14, where we showed you how to file a police report. Thank you.